My current role is Deputy Head Pastoral at a school called Stanford International School in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia.
Well, with Deputy Head Pastoral, I think the biggest challenges at this school is I'm trying to change a culture where actually some of the less serious but nonetheless important aspects of education have fallen below a standard that gives the children the best chance of doing well. So the items that I mentioned earlier, attendance and lateness, but attendance in particular is very highly correlated to performance in school and performance in public exams. And I think in a lot of schools since COVID, we've reached a position where children are given more leeway and more excuses by society and by their parents over whether they attend, whether they actually make their own decisions. And I think what needs to happen in a lot of schools is we need to claw back some of those basic things that actually will impact their performance and their enjoyment as well at school. For example, a number of children who will say, they've got a cold, so they're going to be away from school, rather than perhaps waiting until they've got flu or got a rather more serious illness. And there's that feeling in a lot of schools that parents have become a little bit more gentle with regards to the expectations that they set for their children. So I think another example would be around mocks. A lot of children, and around exams, a lot of children and young adults, teenagers would ask for extended study leave, when actually what teachers and also what science and statistics show is that, yes, once the exams are in full swing, you need perhaps some space and some study leave. But the idea of having study leave for a week or two before exams when you've already got 14 weeks holiday a year is perhaps not the best way for students to prepare for those challenges. So I think changing that culture is the biggest test. And that involves working with students and with parents, because parents tend to listen to their children and they will also ask for things that their children tell them that they want, such as have a few days off before an SAT exam. And when you're already fighting a culture where students find it acceptable to arrive late and leave early, and those are things that you need to try and change. The idea that students can make their own decisions the older they get is something that just slowly been eroded, or the idea that they should actually sort of do what they're told, for want of a better phrase, has been slowly eroded. And I do think I don't want to make out it's a huge problem, because it's usually you're talking about a 15 to 20% of the school population. Obviously that means you've got about 80% of the school population who are actually doing a very good job, and their parents are doing a very good job of making sure they have the best possible chance to do well by being in school and behaving well and committing to the school program. But what I think every school needs to do is to make sure that these numbers are moving in the right direction, and that these figures are not moving in the wrong direction. And it's becoming, every term, it's becoming more and more optional to participate in the full school program. I think there are a number of ways you can try and turn the situation to your advantage, not least by having part of school life and being things that children want to be there for. So some of these cultural festivals are very important days, having, even on a weekly basis, assemblies that are student-led, and having student engagement and student involvement in lessons. More student-led learning. This means that children are more engaged. If they've got to make a presentation, they've got to be there for an assembly that's given by them or their friends. Then at the edges, students will be far more likely to turn up if they're involved in their own education. It may be that they've just got a couple of things after school. It may be they're in the choir, or they've got a club that they particularly enjoy. It may be that they've got friends or tutors leaning on them to come for something within the school day or after the school day. So it's just about making sure that it's a program that engages and involves them, so that these figures are moving in the right direction. It's a really interesting challenge to get parental buy-in and student buy-in to the fact that 5 minutes matters. Because when you leave school, if you're regularly late for work, if you're regularly late for meetings, well, funnily enough, you won't be probably the person getting promoted, and you might be the person being shown the door after a while. Even in today's society where work from home is so much more prevalent, I think the basic behaviour patterns of being on time, being polite, being presentable, communicating well, this is all part of education, as well as the GCSEs and the A levels or the IB examinations.